Hi, I'm Donnie Boobang, and welcome to yet another episode of Life Lived in Purpose. Now, today I will be talking about the journey of purpose and trusting the seasons that God brings you through. Now, I want to start by saying that God is worthy of everything. He is also worthy of our lives and what we actually allow Him to do in our lives each and every single day. Now, I always talk about the topic of surrender and surrendering our lives to God and the beauty of this surrender, the posture that we have when we surrender over to God. There's just something powerful about trusting God, especially in a posture of surrender that to me is quite frankly magical. Now, it's like a form of freedom, I would say, that is unexplainable unless you have actually walked that path yourself. You've actually tried to surrender your life to God and allow Him to lead and direct you in the path or journey that He wants you to be on. Now, there is such joy, peace, and beauty in actually surrendering to God. So with that being said, I want you to also understand the importance of trusting God with every season He brings you through. There is a time and place for everything, according to Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build. There's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. So therefore, with this passage of scripture, we acknowledge that God also has us in seasons. There will be different seasons in your life. And not all seasons will be the same, and it can be quite difficult for us as well as humans to even comprehend why we had to go through certain seasons, while for other seasons we may have had it may have been rather better to actually navigate through. So we, however, do not really understand that sometimes God's ways are just His ways, and that we really don't know the full story about why we go through different seasons until we get to heaven one day. But until then, we have to trust whatever season God brings us through, knowing that He will also anchor us through them. So I myself have been through a very tough season this time around. My beloved niece passed away, and it has been a really tough time, to be honest, trying to understand why she had to go at such a young age, only at 14 months. But I don't have the answers just now, and I don't know why some things happen the way they do. There is so much even going on in the world right now, as you can see, with the many wars happening. And it can sometimes give us a peace or a sense of rather hopelessness every now and again. And if we're not anchored in our faith in God and to trust Him with everything, even through difficult times, we'll probably fall by the wayside. So we are also not in any way immune to anything as Christians. God didn't promise us an uneventful life. What He promised us instead is that no matter what obstacles we face during this life, is that we would get through it. Like He would be with us through it all. He promised to walk with us through these series of our lives in whatever seasons He brings us through. Now, I can honestly look back at a few seasons in my own life where I've literally begged, pleaded, and asked God for a redo. And then there are seasons that I would love to relive again over and over again if I got the chance to, on repeat. And I know it's the same for you as well in your life. There may be seasons you barely made it through, and then there may be seasons that you actually enjoyed and would love to relive it again. But we take each day as we go, knowing that with God and whatever season He has us go through, whether through the good times and the not so good times, the tough times, the hard times, that you can trust Him in every season of your life, that He will be with you and He will take you through it to completion. Now, I want you to kind of look at your life right now, where you are, and to think about what season you might currently be in. Are you building something at the moment? Are you actually going through a difficult time, or even seeing maybe a new beginning start to evolve for you? Identify those seasons and it will give you perspective about life and also an idea of what God might currently be doing in your own life. Also, look at the patterns that you see around you. What I mean by patterns is that if there are any noticeable things, that may keep coming forward to you to get done, then you want to look at that and see what is it exactly God might be doing or trying to tell you in that moment or time or season that you're currently in. For instance, I'm in a season right now of healing. I'm constantly hearing from God that I need to get my mental, emotional, and physical well-being in order. Now, that would mean doing things like getting my checkups done, tending to my emotional health, and also accessing the stress levels that I currently have in my life. So I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those moms that want to do everything, be involved in everything with my kids. I was like a yo-yo, I would say, last season, running up and down, trying to do every activity with my kids and try to be as involved as I can be as a parent, right? But I didn't realize until now, when my schedule was literally stripped to bare bones with nothing to do with them, no activity, rather, just limited activities with them, that I had to take this time seriously with God and actually kind of consider or wonder what exactly He was trying to do or show me during that season. And it was that God was actually trying to tell me to slow down and stop being everywhere and doing everything all at once. So here's the thing. We don't like the word slow down, especially as women, especially with kids. We don't like the word slowing down. We always want to keep going, trying to do everything, attend every activity, be as involved as we possibly can. In fact, most of us may think that when we slow down, it's actually that we're lazy or we don't want to do anything. But no, God actually requires us to rest. He Himself rested after He built the earth at the beginning of creation. So why would He want us to also not have seasons of just nothing to do but rest, right? So there is also a reason for that. If you're always going full force without tending to your well-being, at the end of the day, you will become more burnt out and frustrated, and then you can't get anything done anyway in the next season. And especially if God may be requiring you next season to do a lot more than before. So you really have to take each season that God's give you seriously and also discern what are the patterns of that season that keep coming up to you. Maybe He's telling you to pull back from some of those activities that you're currently doing and take that season to rest and tend to your emotional or mental well-being. Maybe you have started seeing things actually start shifting around for you that maybe were hectic before, and now it's like everything just stopped or suddenly slowed down. It might actually be God saying it's time to take a break and to pivot in a season of just focusing on your well-being. So I want to encourage you to actually go at the pace that God is calling you to go at. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're not lazy, you're not unproductive, or anything we tend to call ourselves when we don't meet the expectations of society. Did you get that? It's the expectations of society, not God. Society and God works differently. Society has the notion that you must work in your prime years and get everything that you need to get done right away. When you're finished with all that workaholic mentality, it's then that you can retire and enjoy the fruit of your labor. But here's the thing that many of you maybe don't even understand. Have you noticed, well, I've noticed rather, in my limited years in healthcare, that is actually quite the opposite. Most people end up with comorbid disease after years of having worked or hustled hard to only now in retirement tending to the said comorbid disease that they brought on themselves. There's really, maybe I would say, a few that do get to go on a cruise and travel the world because they're actually in good health to be able to do so. However, from God's perspective, we are going to do things differently. We get to enjoy the days and the years as it is given to us. We work in the season He allows us to so that we can actually, instead of burning ourselves out, preserve ourselves. We go at the pace God allows us so that we can be prepared for the longevity of our lives and the mission God has actually ordained for us to accomplish. So we trust God with our seasons and also be discerning of our times as well. In other words, we get to stop and smell the roses every now and again. We also get to focus on the people that matters to us most in this life, whether our family or friends. So that's more important to God anyway than trying to hustle each day, but then missing the opportunity to watch your kids grow up or go on that trip to Europe that you always wanted to go on. We don't want to miss out on anything that God actually has in store for us because we're too busy trying to get ahead of Him. So yes, if you're in a season that is maybe tied up with activities as I was, then trust that God knows best in everything. Surrender once again your life, time, and seasons to Him. And trust me, when you keep doing that, God has a way, as I would like to say, of blowing your mind. So thank you once again for watching another episode of Life Lived in Purpose. Do also join me on my podcast at Life Living Purpose to listen to my episodes there as well. It's available on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Castbox. Also, if you haven't grabbed any copies of my books, A Balanced Life, Moving from a Dysfunctional Life to a More Purposeful One, or my memoir, I Am Who God Says I Am, always be inspired to live the life God has planned for you to live. Both books also shows my surrender, my commitment, my dedication to doing the life and the dream and the purpose that God has for me and the seasons that He's actually took me through to be where I am right now. Also, if you would like to support this channel and future episodes, please feel free to buy me a smoothie. The link is also in the description box below. And thank you for your continued support of this channel. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't and share it with others who you know are trying to either discover or rediscover the purposes and plan that God has for their lives as well. So until next time, I do thank you once again for watching. Bye.